Hello everyone, this is Isabel. I'm at Submarine Networks World 2025 in Singapore, and today I'm joined by Cynthia Mehboob. She's a PhD scholar. Cynthia, welcome to my hot seat.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Really glad to be here.
So, Cynthia, a lot of people say and think that subsea cables are fragile and constantly under threat. Is that the reality?
Unfortunately, that is the reality. So, cables are framed as fragile infrastructure for several reasons. And the reality, according to the International Cable Protection Committee, is that the primary reasons for cable damage are human activities such as fishing and anchoring. But increasingly, these claims are now being dismissed by governments. So if you look at the recently published report, it was published actually just last week by the Joint Committee on National Security Strategy at the UK Parliament. There is a section in the report where this idea is deemed insufficient. They're saying that framing cables as fragile is important for them because they want to publicly signal that they're wanting to rectify the problems that exist in the system, which I find incredibly problematic because governments don't have enough evidence to state that this infrastructure is actually being attacked by hostile actors. We've seen a few cases of cable damage in the recent past, but there is no evidence, no forensics to suggest, yes, this was based on malintent. So I think what's happening is that governments are wanting to frame it a non-issue in some ways as an issue, and that's not to trivialize the problem that international security currently is facing. But it not at the moment, at least, we don't have enough evidence to say that there are malicious actors out to take out cables. We have so many wars ongoing in the world, and we haven't seen governments cutting cables. So I think we would need a lot more evidence to say that this infrastructure is truly and technically threatened.
Okay, that's a good point, actually. And what do you think engineers and operators are not more part of that discussion, of the national security discussion?
Oh, this is my most favorite question, and something that I've grappled with during the course of my entire research. So I think the problem is partly structural. National security analysts and defense people who work in the defense sector are trained to speak with media, and they're trained to be very loud. And especially people who work at think tanks or PhD scholars, they go through media training. This is something that is completely lacking in industry, especially when it comes to people who are at mid levels. What I struggled with during my research was that I was wanting to ask questions, wanting to learn more about this infrastructure, but there are very few people in very senior positions, people who've been part of the industry for, let's say, 50 years, who are more available, more willing to talk, more willing to share knowledge. When it comes to people who are in their 30s, 40s, they would not have conversations because they are scared, they don't have the right kind of contracts with their employers, and they don't want to be in a position where they end up losing their job. So there's a reluctance. It seems that technical and engineering knowledge is being created and discussed in silos. And if that keeps happening, general public would never be able to learn more about the technical realities of cables, whereas the international security communities that are based in Washington and Brussels, they would keep controlling the narrative.
Okay. I think that's quite a big challenge. So, in your research, you call for the policymakers and the industry to work more hand in hand. How do you think we can make it happen? What needs to take place?
I think that at the moment, there is a complete lack of trust between these two communities, if you think about it, especially given what's happened during the last 7 to 10 years. So, governments have made ad hoc decisions, and my respondents have communicated, people who are part of the industry, that they're extremely dissatisfied with some of the things that have happened. For instance, there is a lack of swift action when it comes to ensuring that landing permits are granted. And there are bottlenecks when it comes to vessel repair operations and their permits being granted. There are real issues that are being faced by the industry. A more recent one that I talk at length in my thesis is that of seabed mining, which the International Cable Protection Committee has been arguing for a while is the biggest threat to subsea cables. So I think that when we use conjecture to frame issues, we risk overlooking real issues. And that's something that I have unpacked in my thesis, and that's a sentiment that is prevalent in the industry too. And that's just one way. The second way I would suggest is to have translators, people who do not have a conflict of interest. The industry needs to engage with independent researchers and take their message out there. Review what's happening in the industry, review what's happening in the policy sector, and create these translators who'd be able to take the right message to the media, to the public. So the hype that we are seeing at the moment in the media lessens a little bit. And the third thing, which is incredibly important, is inclusivity. We need to open the doors of this industry to young scholars.
Yes.
And I think that Terrapin in particular is making that happen increasingly, which is why I'm here.
Yes.
So I think that we are on the right track, but more needs to be done in this space.
I completely agree. I'm very passionate about young people, and I'm very excited that you're here, and we need more young people like you in the industry. Thank you for a great interview, Cynthia.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I hope you have a great conference.
You too. Thank you very much. Everyone, thank you for watching, and until my next hot shot.